Hello, my name is Ishara Kelsaw Fletcher. I'm a senior graduating with a degree in fashion merchandising and a double minor in fashion styling and pre-law studies. And I spent my last year at Columbia College Chicago working on an independent study alongside Professor Melissa Gamble, which is a case study of my choice in the realm of fashion law. When planning the guidelines of this project, I wanted to explore the reach AI has had within the fashion industry and use a prominent legal case to communicate that effort. When looking for a case, I felt that I kept coming on dead ends and I couldn't find a case that really matched the image of what I wanted to explore and what I wanted to research within this project. That was until I stumbled across an article by AP News with the headline, "China's Shein hit with a lawsuit citing RICO violations, a law originally used against organized crimes." I was familiar with the term RICO and also what racketeering was, very mildly. I always associated it with like gangs or the mafia or something a lot bigger than like a fast fashion brand that we all probably shopped like a bikini for one summer. So I couldn't help but wonder what Shein could have possibly done to be cited for such a felony. In July of 2023, 3 independent designers filed a claim against fast fashion company Shein and its related business entities on account of criminal copyright infringement that falls under the civil definition of racketeering, violating the Racketeering Influence and Corrupt Organization Acts, or the RICO Act of 1970. My case study is a legal analysis on this Shein versus Perry case and looks at how Shein represents a downward trend that is happening within the fashion industry as AI is introduced into the space. AI has set a precedent for a decline in ethical marketing practices, inspired and human-made designs, and slow fashion that is meant to last you more than a year or two. My case study will be calling out key aspects of Shein's recent ongoing lawsuit with these 3 independent designers and how it connects to some of the issues AI has created within the fashion industry. Starting off with introducing the plaintiffs in this case. There are 3 plaintiffs in the case, all 3 independent designers in the art or apparel sphere. The first one is Krista Perry, who is actually the one who started the call to action on this case. She's an illustrator and designer based in Massachusetts, and she has created artwork for apparel companies such as Madewell. She has also created artwork for Nickelodeon and Jameson Whiskey. Larissa Blintz, she is a Los Angeles-based creative. She is the founder of the clothing brand Miracle Eye, which specializes in made-to-order apparel and accessories. And our last plaintiff, Jay Barron, he's a Los Angeles-based artist and he is the founder of Retrograde Supply Co. He has a large social media following and he has had his artwork featured in many TV and films. He also has his work sold in over 100 independent retailers in the US. Citing the plaintiff's arguments, there were 3 main arguments made in the full case itself. The plaintiff's lawyers argue that Shein violates the Racketeering Influenced and Corrupt Organization Act, or the RICO Act, by participating in, quote, systemic intellectual property theft through the use of complex AI algorithms that often generate exact copies of works from countless designers in the e-commerce space. The plaintiff's lawyers also argue that these clients are just few of the many victims in Shein's long-standing ploy of criminal copyright infringement, targeting independent artists and creatives that date back as far as 2017. The complaint also states that Shein's alleged criminal copyright infringement has irreparably tarnished these artists' reputation and careers, affecting the value and projected revenue of their art. When researching my case, I thought it was best to define and really educate myself on what the RICO Act fully entails and what racketeering itself fully entails and how defendants can be caught with a civil RICO charge, or a RICO charge in general. So according to Oxford Dictionary, racketeering itself is defined as dishonest and fraudulent business dealings. So the Racketeering Influenced and Corrupt Organization Act creates a private cause of action against any individual who is involved in one or more relationships with a business enterprise with a business that engages in a pattern of racketeering activity or collects unlawful debt. And that is from Fordham Law Journal in 1988. The modern civil RICO case defendants are no longer a part of overt crime syndicates, so it's not like your Sopranos vision of like, you know, a mob boss or like a crime or like a gang member or anything like that. These can be people who work at law firms, these can be insurance companies, or these can be things like Shein, fast fashion giants. For this case, the plaintiffs are suing on a civil complaint, so on a civil cause. There are 2 different requirements, basic and pattern requirement. Basic requirement is that civil RICO plaintiffs must prove that all elements of the claim are only only on a preponderance of evidence, so a ton of evidence, or pattern requirement, which is the predicate acts and must show a continuity and relationship with others. In application to the case, it appears that the plaintiff's argument would fall under the enterprise view for cause of action, due to Shein representing a business not traditionally tied to organized crime. Moving on to our individual claims, we have Krista Perry, who has 5 individual claims of criminal copyright infringement against Shein, with 3 out of 4 copied works being protected under the copyright law and registered with the U.S. copyright offices. 2 claims were made by Perry, with 2 accounts of her work being copied, reproduced, and sold without her knowledge, license, or consent. Barron filed 2 claims against Shein, 1 claim of copyright infringement and 1 of trademark infringement. So Barron's designs did not qualify for copyright protection, unfortunately. However, one of his does hold a trademark, which was registered by the U.S. Patent and Trademark Offices in 2018. And then Blintz's claims is 1 claim made by her on account of her orange daisy dress and overall pattern being stolen and sold by Shein without her knowledge, license, or consent. The result of such infringement for both parties was a diversion of trade, loss of profit, potential customers, and a diminishment of value within their designs. Moving on to introducing the defendants of the case, there are 4 main defendants, which is Shein and its related enterprises, Shein Distribution Corporation, or SDC, Shein Fashion Group Inc., or SFG, Roadget Business Pte., or Roadget, and Zotop Business Company Limited, or Zotop. Shein Distribution Corporation is a business based in Delaware, formed in 2021. Shein Fashion Group is an entity of unknown form, in quotes, and has appeared in past litigations in name, but there is no really concrete record of this group's existence. Roadget is a private entity formed in Singapore. They own the Shein trademark. They also own the US website domain and the mobile application. And Zotop is based in Hong Kong, and they own and operate the company that the website and mobile app functions on. Shein is a repeat offender when it comes to stealing designs from small businesses. A Wall Street Journal article from 2022 cites 50 pending intellectual property infringement suits against the fast fashion company, and that number obviously is only growing as the years go by. And another note is that Plaintiff Perry reported that Shein offered a $500 buyout after she contacted the brand about her first stolen design. A lot of designers, Perry included, cite a sort of wild goose chase when it comes to trying to contact Shein and get the intellectual property of their work back, get their work taken down from the site, get any sort of fairness or reconciliation from something such as criminal copyright infringement. In October of 2023, the defendants filed a motion to dismiss the 3rd and 6th claim of the complaint. The 3rd claim argued that Plaintiff Barron failed to state copyright infringement due to artwork not being protected under copyright law. And the 6th claim argued that the plaintiffs failed to state RICO claims under 4 stipulations. The bigger issues that I also wanted to go into in this case extend past just the complaint that was filed and extends more into Shein's problematic business practices and how they have slowly seeped into the fashion industry as a whole. And those 3 points were encouraging overconsumption through predatory marketing tactics, prioritizing the use of AI over artistry, and eroding the practice of sustainable plus slow fashion. I believe that the legal parameters of this case help shed light on these issues, but Shein is a behemoth within the fashion realm that has, for better or for worse, taken a leading spot into how fashion companies, both big, small, high-end, and low-end, are beginning to operate. And it is leading towards more of a downward spiral and downward trend when it comes to the quality, integrity, and artistry of fashion. To better understand Shein's responsibility when it comes to the downward trends that the fashion industry is facing, I wanted to break down as much on Shein as I possibly could when it came to their business models, their marketing practices, anything that I could hopefully get my hands on. So when it comes to Shein's business model, shockingly, there is no single company that is just Shein, like how it's marketed online. You can't just look up Shein and get the website, the company, and all of its information alongside it. Rather, in the complaint, the plaintiffs allege that Shein is a, quote, decentralized constellation of entities designed to improperly avoid liability. The ownership of Shein is also made willfully unclear from this graphic that I found credited to Public Eye. This model has many of the listed defendants, but a lot of them aren't even really related or even in conjunction with each other. So it makes trying to track down someone to blame in the plaintiff's case, or someone to get a payout from, someone to be able to take to the courts on Shein's side, it makes it very difficult for plaintiffs and for independent designers to pursue legal action. A quote from Wired in 2024, I think very much sums up Shein's algorithm, which is that Shein uses proprietary machine learning applications, essentially pattern identification algorithms, to measure customer preferences in real time and predict demand, which it then services with an ultra-fast supply chain. Shein's algorithm allows 600,000 items to be for sale at any given moment. It allows 6,000 items to be released on the website daily, and it allows 100 to 200 items to be stocked per these 6,000 items. So it's such a large quantity of clothing coming out at such an alarmingly fast rate that it has no choice but to serve any and all consumers, which makes it such an appealing e-commerce site, which makes it such an appealing fashion option for a lot of consumers. Moving on to the impact of such a insane algorithm that Shein has created, it has its copycats, and these copycats are beginning to become more and more prevalent each day. Shein and TikTok are two of the relations that I immediately made. Same AI-powered algorithm, addictive app structure, and a lot of overlap between its consumers. So if you scroll on TikTok, you know you can scroll for hours. I believe the term doom scrolling literally came from TikTok. It's addictive, it's tailored to you, and it makes you not want to stop and keep going and keep going and keep going. Shein's mobile application and e-commerce website are set up in very similar fashions. It will be tailored to your likes. It will see the clothes that you're constantly clicking on. It will see the homeware that you're constantly looking at and make you scroll endlessly, or allow you to scroll endlessly, so that you can keep finding things that you like, keep finding things that satisfy, the urge or the need or the want that you have for their product. Shein takes up 50% of fast fashion sales in the US. It has seen immense success, and it has also bulldozed over the competition such as Zara and H&M and other fast fashion retailers that have seen popularity in the past mid to late 2010s. Zara and H&M have reported the implementation of machine learning technology in response to Shein's domination of the marketplace. So sooner and sooner, it is not too far off to believe that these fast fashion brands that used to have so much popularity are going to start to adopt Shein's incredibly rapid AI-powered machine learning to serve their customers at a comparable breakneck speed. And then of course, a really big and obvious Shein copycat would be Temu. So Temu was launched in September of 2022 and mounted rapid success by replicating Shein's quick product manufacturing and low costs. Shein did not take kindly to Temu's success and actually filed their own civil complaint in 2024, suing Temu for routine copyright infringement and alleging stolen product designs and confidential trade secrets, which is ironic. An issue brief from the U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission states that the success of these e-commerce business platforms have birthed a trend of businesses following the same model. So that poses a risk to U.S. regulation laws and market access. These risks would include and not be limited to violations of the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, health hazards, negative environmental impacts, U.S. intellectual property law violations, and current tariff levels favoring this model. Moving on to Shein's marketing, or Shein's predatory marketing and accessible fashion sort of ruse that they have put on to their consumer base. Shein relies heavily on influencer marketing to market their products, and has gained notoriety from recruiting micro-influencers to post sponsored Shein hauls. And these are usually from smaller micro-influencers, usually young women, teenagers, early 20s, that are trying to make a place for themselves on the social media marketplace, who are trying to become influencers, content creators of the likes, and see that a brand as big and seemingly successful as Shein has taken a liking to them. Shein intentionally targets Gen Z consumers based on the group's strong desire to stay on trend and their high price sensitivity. So not only are they targeting these Gen Z influencers, but they are making sure that their audience is also being able to see the attractive low prices, being able to afford clothing while also staying on trend and with the times and in clothing that they feel comfortable and confident in. And Shein really takes advantage of that to the nth degree through this predatory marketing practice that preys on vulnerable and very fashion and identity driven Gen Z consumers. In 2022, Statista put together a graph of number of views and hashtags on TikTok hauls, and the top hashtag used was Shein haul, and it was like by a long shot, as you can see by this graphic. And moving on to finally the last sort of deep dive I did, which was Shein's supply chain. Starting off with a quote from Sage Lenner, who is the executive director of Sustainable and Just Future. AI enables fast fashion to become the ultra-fast fashion industry, Shein and Temu being the 4 leaders of this. With a market as aggressive and oversaturated as today, brands need to pick up the pace to keep relevancy, resulting in a trend cycle and supply chain that is moving faster and faster and faster and isn't giving clothing the brevity to get their full cost per wear, or for trends to die out at a natural pace like they were in the early 2000s, even like early 2010s. Shein is already ahead of the game with their ultra-fast supply chain, but this effort also comes with the negative cost of cutting labor and material to keep prices low and production high. Shein is infamously known for its poor and forced labor. Shein has faced multiple controversies due to its unethical labor practices, and they were in direct violation of the Uyghur Forced Labor Act in 2022. Shein has violated child labor laws, they have had controversies for dangerous working conditions, and there have even been reports of lead being found in clothing. This ultra-fast supply chain does nothing but disservice consumers in the long run, and it creates a precedent for poor quality clothing. Consumers are no longer expecting quality if brands like Shein pioneer such poor and honestly dangerous garment construction and supply chain management, because with how competitive the market is, it is only fitting that brands start to follow suit. I will close this off by a quote from Matthew Bird, who is a RISD professor. "They start to treat cars like sweaters. It becomes grossly accelerated. The pressure to make more stuff, of course, lowers the quality of what is being made because the development and testing is just accelerated even more." Looking at the case, the plaintiff's victory could signify an impactful and positive trend towards responsible AI usage in fashion and a brighter future towards the rejection of Shein's current affairs and Shein's current effects on the fashion industry as a whole. It just as easily could be a band-aid solution, though, for the fundamental issues that Shein has as a company. The laws to look out for within this case that could work in the plaintiff's favor is the following: Trump's executive order on AI in 2019. The goal of this overall executive order is to accelerate American leadership in artificial intelligence by increasing AI research investment and unleashing federal AI computing and data resources. So it just accelerates the research of AI within the US government. The U.S. Copyright Office's AI initiative, published in 2023, is dedicated to outlining and examining the copyright and policy issues posed by AI. And the FTC Operations AI Comply in 2024, the FTC has taken action on multiple companies that have used AI to mislead and defraud consumers. My thoughts on the case, currently where it stands, I'm very cautiously optimistic that the plaintiffs will be able to be rewarded for their current and future damages. I also stay cautiously optimistic about the fact that consumers are seeming to reject the utilization of AI and its adverse effects to the fashion industry as a whole. You see more and more consumers rejecting Shein and fast fashion companies and actively trying to find more sustainable and conscious ways to shop. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation.